Chancellor Wilson, President Naylor, the academic procession, faculty, graduates, and family and friends, I just want to say thank you. This is really meaningful, and it's really meaningful for a number of ways. They say you can't be a prophet in your own home, so it's especially appreciated when something like this happens at your home. And also it's because there's three people here who had such a fundamental impact on my life. And they came here when I came here. I had no intention of coming to the University of Toronto. I had no intention of becoming what I became. I was going to be a composer and spend the rest of my life writing music. And then I ran into Les Mezzi, Casey Smith, and Ron Becker, who you just met. And I'll talk a bit about that as I go along. But I'm supposed to say something wise, right? And so I just thought, well, what could I say? Because I'm not sure I know anything wise, and I can't ask my dad because he's dead. We'll come back to that, too. So the first thing is that, okay, you're graduating, right? Big deal, you're on the top of the world, everything's great. Guess what? You're going to have some really tough days. Every day is not going to be as good as today. Now, the good thing is enjoy it, right? But I want to say that you can, in fact, draw on your education and your scholarship that you've learned here to deal with that and to recognize that those bad days aren't bad. Now, I was thinking about this because my son, who's there, we were out walking on the Bruce Trail last weekend, and we were getting eaten by black flies. Now, I know that you're Canadians, so you've never encountered this, but you see, here's where your education helps, because you could actually go to the library, to the Rare Books Library, in fact, and you can read Champlain's journals. Now, if you did that, you would find out that above, sort of on the Bruce Peninsula, just above Thornbury, the tribe, the indigenous people there, were actually nudists. And so when you think you're having a bad day, think about them and realize you're just having not as good of a day, and that you don't know what bad days are, and there were no good old days. And then you just sort of say, okay, well, let's make it my job to make stuff a little better. But that's not going to get you through life. So I'm going to give you some other deep wisdom that I developed. And this was, I think travel is important. You should, if you're going to go through life, the broader your experience, the more of a foundation you have to draw on to make wise decisions. So travel's a good thing. So I had the luck to end up, after I finished my music degree, working in the Netherlands, where I've continued to work on and off. And so I spoke a little Dutch. And as Ron mentioned, I actually got an honorary doctorate from the Technical University of Eindhoven, which is in the Netherlands for the geographically challenged. Now, here's what I learned. The Dutch word for this is a toga. So I just want to tell you that if you're graduating in the university, this is the last toga party you're going to have at university. All right? Just see the benefits of travel. So I just want to start things off on a deep, meaningful, informative basis. So remember today, all the better. Now, it was actually interesting listening to the previous presentations to you about the information school and from the Faculty of Design. I'm not going to forget the rest of you in graduate studies. You have a role in this too. But the thing is this. T.S. Eliot had this great poem called The Rock. And there's a line that says, "Where's the wisdom we've lost in knowledge? Where's the knowledge we lost in information?" Sorry, yes, where's the knowledge we've lost in information? Then a colleague from the University of Toronto, Gail Moore, added on a few more lines. Pretty audacious, given that it was T.S. Eliot, but anyhow. It said, "Where's the data we've lost in information? And where's the information we've lost in data?" Sorry, I'm doing this by memory, pathetic. this is the part I didn't rehearse or write down. Where's the data we've lost in information, and where's the information we lost in data, and where's the data we've lost in noise? The point is you have this hierarchy from noise to data to information to knowledge to wisdom. And my profession in computer science has this, we're culpable for making it easier to throw more and more stuff at you, so it's ever harder to distinguish along that hierarchy. And people use the word information, toss it out. But it's not information unless it can inform and serve as the basis for informed decision making. And even that doesn't make you wise. It gives you knowledge eventually, but you can build it up. So in some sense, it's fantastic that we have people who are specializing in what is the nature of information, how do we sift through it, and render it from one to the other, moving up that hierarchy. And this is where you guys in green come in. Because one of the things is that that's not just an intellectual action. These can only happen by design. It's the design of our buildings, our environment, our culture, and the objects we have, that we have the means to facilitate the chaos, facilitate getting rid of the chaos we have today, and rendering these things in a way that does, in fact, bring us to a higher level in that hierarchy. And, of course, you need stuff to render, and that's where the rest of your graduate program come in, because it doesn't matter what discipline you're in. You're part of this game. Now, it was funny. I had a conversation with some students earlier today. And I asked the question, I said, so what's the most important problem in your field that you think you should be working on? And the interesting thing was, it was almost silence. And that struck me as strange for graduate students who are supposed to be passionate about their stuff. And then I realized if you asked me the same question, I'd stumble as well. And so I was walking over here today, again, and I thought, what's the right answer? And by the way, that's a question we should pose to ourselves all the time. And if the answer to the question isn't what I'm doing right now, think twice about what you're doing right now. Because time is really, really short. My father once said to me when I was about 10, if you ever go to some place and you leave it the way you found it without making a difference, you might as well not have gone. And some of my friends have sort of said, wow, that's a heavy load to dump on a kid. But I'm wondering about that. Is that fair? And is this some old hippie from the 60s just sort of going off? I don't think so. You're not normal people. You know, you think you're normal. You look the same as everybody else in the mirror. You're not. You're graduates of the University of Toronto. You've had incredible privilege. You've had incredible education. And it's sort of like what Uncle Ben said to Spider-Man, right? With great power comes great responsibility. You cannot take the benefits without taking on the burden of responsibility. That's not a hood. That's representative of the responsibility you have, and it's exactly what David said earlier about the reputation of the university and so on and so forth. You own that. We all do. And what this comes down to is that in this world of technology and so on, it's not about the technology. This is the secret of my so-called success. I was clever enough to realize I couldn't work computers and made my career out of it saying it's not my fault, it's the computer's fault, and by the way, here's how to fix it. So you can use that. And the point is that in every case, we can fix it. So the question is it unreasonable to ask what I'm saying? How do we take ownership? There's a historian of technology named Melvin Kranzberg. Gail Moore introduced me to him as well. And he said, here's a law. His first law is technology is not good, it's not bad, but nor is it neutral. It will be some combination of good and bad. And my corollary to that is, without informed design, back to that word, informed, and design, it's more likely to come on the negative side than the positive side. Now let's see what we mean by technology. Technology is basically anything that you introduce into the society, from a paperclip to a toothpick to some new supercomputer to Facebook. They will change. And the question is, to what extent When we introduce these things into our culture, into our organization, whether it's your family organization or the Organization of Canada, or in the world, how informed are those decisions in terms of taking into account the potential consequences of those decisions? And what could we do to channel behaviors along some other path so it weighs more on the positive than the negative? And it's a tough question, but you have to ask the question before you can answer it. And so it's the first thing. Remember Kranzberg's first law. And by the way, his second law was to acknowledge we're human. We won't get it right. And I love language. And his second part of the language was invention is the mother of necessity, right? You'll get it wrong. You'll make something. You'll introduce something. But you've got to take responsibility for what you did. Fix the stuff you got wrong. Learn from it. And don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So how do you deal with this? Because what's interesting to me in all of this is this notion. It's all about, there's somehow I'm talking about good and bad. What's your reputation? What's respect? So on and so forth. Everything I talked about says you need a moral compass. You need to have a set of values. And my God, if you didn't get a certain set of values here at the University of Toronto, where are you going to get them? Well, hopefully you got them here. But hopefully you got them from your parents. Hopefully you got them from each other. But you notice what I just described. I described a whole collection of directions where these things happen. That's called culture. That's called our society. And the main point is we're not in it alone, but we all have to take individual responsibility for our role in it, or else we're a parasite or a leech. And none of us want to be described that way, so this is how to avoid it. That you have to pay back. It is a responsible society. So the key thing is there's no deus ex machina. Nobody is going to come out of the God, from the government or your parents, to draw you out of any problems. We made them, we fixed them. We've had the best education, the best opportunity to try and do something about it. We can take ownership, but the key thing is the clock is ticking, both in terms of to fix things, and the longer we take to address things and acknowledge our responsibilities, the worse it's going to be. The neat thing is, and thank your parents for helping you get here and your family, and help each other for getting you through this. You're well prepared. That's the good part. And so I guess I want to finish with two things that actually pertain to this. And one is this great quote, because you start saying, well, I'm just this person. How am I going to take this great responsibility? Well, just think about this. Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." We own it. You are your culture. Every one of us own it. Don't wait for anyone else. And this brings to, I wrote a book a couple years ago, and I finished it this way, and I want to finish my talk with the same way. And it's an introduction to T.E. Lawrence's 7 Pillars of Wisdom. And he says, all men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their minds wake in the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dreams with open eyes to make it possible. May you dream in the day. Thank you.